Dial Models Workshop.
Hi, it's Yeji.
And Clint.
Hey, it's Larry. You are entering Models Workshop After Hours, a modeling podcast where we talk about miniatures, model painting, and we cuss a lot. If you can be offended, we're probably going to offend you. Then you're going to laugh, and you're going to feel bad. And then we'll offend you again, and then you'll laugh again. You see the pattern. So kick out, sit back, grab your brush, grab your paints, and get ready to have some fun.
Hello, model workers, and welcome to a special end-of-week edition of After Hours UK. This episode of Models Workshop After Hours is sponsored by Audible.com, so visit www.bit.ly/After Hours Audible and get 2 free audiobooks to keep. So, this is an extra special episode. We're only 3 in on the UK side of things, and we've landed a fancy industry interview. In fact, we recorded just over an hour's worth last night with Mantic CEO Ronnie Renton. And spoke to him about what's going on with his Hellboy The Board Game Kickstarter campaign. Sadly, we were beset with technical issues. Our new guy Dave's internet broke, Simon's mic cable broke, and then Ronnie himself had some issues with the recording on his end. So after chatting and recording for more than an hour, we actually only have about 5 or 6 minutes from the end of the chat. But fear not, we've reconvened, albeit without Ronnie, to rehash last night's discussion and what it means for everyone going forward. So, with me, I've got Ian. Hello, Ian.
Hello.
Long time no see.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've got Chloe as well.
Hey, guys.
So let's get stuck straight in. Hellboy the Board Game. We've talked about it a few times on After Hours. American group, Yeji and Clint decided they didn't want to get in on it because it's too much of an investment, and shipping to the States is too much, and they were concerned that there was no option to buy any single figures just for painting. And that all changed this week. After chatting with Ronnie, Chloe, what did you get out of last night's chat?
The new resin miniatures are pretty awesome, and from what he said, you can choose to back them without having to invest in the whole board game. So essentially, you back as a non-commitment pledge, essentially. So you can put £1 on now, and then when they send the pledge manager out later on, you can put as much as you want in there, and then just tell them what you want, essentially. So if you just want the resin miniatures to paint because you're a model collector like we are, then you can just do that and get the nice resin packs that are on there. So that's really good to know, and it opens it up to a lot more people then.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome. They're good-looking figures, actually, even in plastic, but definitely in resin.
Yeah, and they're made in the UK as well, as opposed to the plastic ones which are getting made out in China. So they're made at Mantic Studio, as far as I'm aware, from what he was saying, and they've got that all down and sorted. So it'd be nice to get them. I imagine they'll be sent out a little bit quicker that way because they're made in house rather than through an external contractor.
Yeah, although he was saying that they do have a limited amount of production facility in house.
Yeah, so it depends how many people back it, I suppose. Depends on the time lead, but
yeah, he was telling us about actually which set was it that they were going to do? Was it a dungeon crawl?
Was it not the limited edition Walking Dead one that sold out?
Okay, yeah, and they said they were going to do 2,500 over a 2-year period, and within 4 days they'd had 1,500.
And they'd sold them all.
And they so they had to just stop it there and then, so they could actually complete the order.
Yeah.
But these are, I guess, these are good problems to get stuck into, as opposed to we made zero money on this.
Oh, without a doubt, and it's nice to see, especially from a British company as well, that people are willing to invest and trust them with that. I mean, there's 12 different resin sets out on the Kickstarter at the minute that have been released as of yesterday, so Wednesday to listeners who are on. And they give you a good variety option, but we did ask him if there was going to be an all-in option, which was quite common question on the comments.
Yeah.
So they said they'd be looking at that essentially, but that wasn't
So
confirmed.
by all in, you mean a complete set of the resin that they've already announced, not
Yeah,
all
so
in
one-
for the
no.
entire...
No. One of each resin miniature, essentially.
Yeah.
So let's keep an eye out and see if that happens. But it was a
fingers
question
crossed.
we raised. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you were to
actually
buy
have a
every
look at
set,
the-
you'd have some duplicates, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would. So I think that's why I've only gone. So I've personally only gone with the resin Hellboy collection and the first set of agents. Because if I was to get, for example, the Hellboy collection and the Mexico Hellboy collection, I'd have a duplicate in there. And same with the other set of agents, I'd have 2 Pancake Hellboys, which isn't too bad because they're really cute. But essentially that'd be 3 with the Kickstarter exclusive plastic model as well, and that'd be a lot to paint.
But there's always eBay.
There is, yeah, that's true.
And your Pancake Hellboy, you can sell that for pretty much unpainted for the set of all of the rest of the Mexico.
Yeah, you'd probably make the money back on it if you were looking at it from an investment point of view.
Yep.
And it's a really cool model anyway, if you wanted to do like kind of an alternate version of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually just trying to trick you into spending more money.
I know.
Because we've done
not gonna
quite
do
well
it,
so far. I mean, you weren't going to back this to start with because you didn't know anything about Kickstarter. And it was Ian's fault, really. And we sort of ganged up on you. And now I think you're pretty much in it for life.
Ian spammed me with loads of pictures on our chat, and then I just couldn't help myself from there. So I was one of the first backers. I was on the early bird. So I got it for the core set, essentially, the agent pledge for £89. So the rest is kind of like just bonus to me.
And I still haven't pledged.
Oh,
I'm going to though, because I decided to go for the Batman one because it was on like a late pledge. But I've messaged them and said, yeah, you can cancel that because I'm going to get the Mantic resin models.
yeah, another one over to the fold.
Nice.
We'll get everyone on Models Workshop into this soon. Even if it's just a couple of resin miniatures each, I think we'll all get something by the end of it.
Yeah, I'm still undecided. I probably will go for a set of resin.
They are really nice.
Yeah, I might just get you to get them for me so I don't have to pay the extra shipping.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And if you want to have a look at them, well, at least the Hellboy one, if you put in Mantic Hellboy resin in YouTube, you'll see a few videos come up of resin models that have already been sent out to people that have already painted them, so you get like a rough idea of what it'll look like when you get them.
Yeah, from what Ronnie was saying, the ones that are painted, the showpieces that are painted on the Kickstarter page are the ones that are resin. And then the other pictures are plastics, I think, from what the feedback has been, especially on the Q&A, because there was a Q&A yesterday as well on the site.
Yes, that was going on at the same time that we were talking, and we were all getting a bit distracted, looking at what James was trying to say at the same time as trying to figure out which pins Simon had broken in his USB cable.
And Ronnie was trying to troll them on the chat, I think, as well, so that was quite amusing, seeing him, or listening to him doing that and then seeing it come up on the screen when we're on the phone to him. That was quite fun.
So, Ian, what was your take home from last night?
I just feel he's a down to earth guy, and he's like quite honest in what he says and what their idea is, especially in the way that they use Kickstarter, the way that they like to incorporate the community, asking people for their ideas and what they want to do, and that they're actually bringing out stretch goals based on what people have actually requested since the Kickstarter started.
And they've got loads of stretch goals lined up for money to come, by the sounds of things, haven't they?
Yeah, it does sound like it, because you thought they had 16, but they've got near 40.
40, I think, yeah, and they hit the 39th one as we were talking.
Yeah, and I think they're about £6,000 away from hitting the next one.
Already?
Currently,
Wow.
1,200 quid they're away from the next stretch goal.
Ah, okay, so that's going
and
quite
then
quick.
Another 10 grand on top of that is the next one. So there's 2 coming up in kind of the next couple of days if it keeps going the same momentum that it's had.
So over the weekend, after we publish this, it'll already be up to 2 or 3 more stretch goals.
Hopefully.
Yeah, Because, I mean, this ends essentially in about a week's time, doesn't it?
Yeah, so as of today, it's 7 days to go. So by the time this comes out, it'll be down to 6, I think.
Yeah.
So not long left.
If I pull my finger out and edit it tonight, get it up tomorrow, and then everybody can start putting hands in pockets and backing this Kickstarter, because it's completely worth it. I mean, the standard box, he said, is 3.5 kilos.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a heavy bloody box.
That's at the minute as well. That's without any further kind of stretch goals added in. They're just planning ahead, I think. But yeah, 3.5 kilos with and the guy who has to organise that is rightfully like, shit. So trying to fit all that in a box, I'll be impressed when it turns up.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to take when you unbox it, you need to take photos of every single step just so you can put it back. If you ever need to put it back in the box, because it'll be like one of these tightly packed things from China.
I'll live stream it, and then everyone knows how to do it.
Perfect. There you go. Have you ever tried to, put back a vacuum cleaner in a box or a record player? It's impossible. I mean, this was part of my old job. Was I was filming record players and hi-fi bits. And my God, you take it out of the box. You unpack the remote controls and find all the cables, and then once you're done doing all the unboxing stuff, putting it back in, who the hell knows what you did? Unless you'd filmed it all.
Like Tetris.
Completely. So, yeah, I think with... we're going to be up to... I reckon we're going to have 120-ish models.
Oh, yeah.
We're
on 116 box now, so it's realistic. It's definitely realistic.
And then he said the resin stuff will ship separately. It'll ship a few weeks, maybe a couple of months after the main box. Am I right in remembering that?
Yeah, I think
Yep.
It's because they make them here. Obviously, like you said before, they've got a limited amount of resources, should I say, to do it with. So I think it's going to come out probably in between the first and second wave, I imagine. I have to ask Ronnie to confirm that, but that's what I gathered from chatting to him.
Yeah, I'm not sure how he said that the resin models would go out to the people that just get resin models, but I'm pretty sure he was saying about that when they get the expansion box, there'll be space so that you can put other things in it, and when they send those out, in that space will be where the resin models will be shipped to people that have got them as added.
Gotcha. Yes, of course, because the expansions will come out separate. It won't come with the main box. They'll come out after. Yeah, that's right.
So they'll squeeze them into different packages, and then you get kind of trickle of models.
Yeah, and that also means that the resin models, for anyone that gets confused, aren't replacements for the plastic ones. They are actual separate entities themselves. Yeah,
I mean, I'm so tempted to get in on this, but I think I have to hold back.
So at the moment, you're getting
really greedy.
So for £95,
yeah,
you're getting 116 models. That's just standard, so that's just the normal pledge. 116 models with 19 Kickstarter exclusive models or exclusives, and that's, he said, the normal box set is £70. So that's
for 25 quid, you're getting it's ridiculous.
So we figured it out last night. It was 85p a model or something ridiculous, and you'd break it down. That's so cheap.
That is, utterly bonkers. It's amazing that they've managed to scale this up so well to give the consumers this value for money.
Yeah.
One of the things that I remember a few weeks ago, the American team were worried, concerned, whatever you want to, however strong you want to get it, about the idea that it would be shipped by February, because that's around the time of Chinese New Year, and obviously this stuff is made in China, and it pretty much shuts down for the whole month of Chinese New Year. Production ceases, everybody's partying, doing whatever they do. And I remember it was Clint saying, unless they really know what they're doing, they're going to miss this. And I remember last night, so Ronnie was telling us that if the stuff isn't on a boat by the end of December, which they've planned for, then they will miss it. But they've planned for it, and unless the factories completely miss their targets and deadlines, it'll be fine. And this is what, their 16th Kickstarter?
Yeah, they're in deep.
So they know what they're doing. I think they've sourced the right amount of suppliers out in China, and I think they've got a good base of production. So I don't think that Chinese New Year is going to affect the shipping of this. Touch wood.
That's
I
one of the
think he was
reasons.
also saying that
I'm not going to jinx it for him.
they've got different suppliers for different things, haven't they? And he was saying that before they let them have like a large quantity, they start them off with small bits to see how they can do it. So over, all the Kickstarters they've done, they've probably got a good production line going on, and they'll get it all sorted as long as there's something majorly wrong with the process.
Yeah, and as long as there's no thermonuclear war out in the Far East, Shenzhen gets attacked or anything stupid like that, I think Chinese industry's going to be working fine for them.
So the reasons why I backed it is, having never backed anything on Kickstarter before and not really known about it, the first thing I did was click on Mantic Games' profile and have a read. And the fact that they've done 16 rather successful games is, really helpful to first-time investors, because I had no idea how this worked. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but if you're on the pledge now, it's nearly £100. It's quite a large amount. But when you realise what you get for it, and the fact they've done 16 already, it's actually not that bad as far as risk goes. There's always that element of risk, but I think on this one it's quite low.
So another thing that we spoke to Ronnie about was the target priority 3D busts, which were they were a stretch goal, weren't they? To replace the cardboard markers. And there's 4 of them. I forget. I don't have the page in front of me. I know one of them's Hellboy. One of them's I think it's the Right Hand of Doom.
No, these are So the 4 busts are the main BPRD agents.
Are they? Okay.
And then there's a separate stretch goal that was reached, which was the 3D right-handed Doom.
So. Okay, right. And the busts look so good for painting, and I asked him if they were considering doing those in resin, and it turns out there's potentially a licensing issue, which I thought was quite interesting, that because they're part of the game and they're a marker token, and they might be busts, but they're used as, what did you say, target priority?
Yeah, so they're used as part of the game, so therefore they're not a separate kind of...
They're not a separate
piece
entity.
of merchandise, yeah.
So they didn't have to check to see that somebody else already holds a license to make official Hellboy busts. But if they were to sell it as a bust for painting, then they'd have to check for that.
It's basically a different permission for the use, isn't it? That what he was getting at.
Yeah.
Which is
But
a
fingers
legal
crossed.
nightmare, I imagine.
I can imagine there's a lot of legal nightmares of every single clause in their contract is probably down to the absolute fine hair. But yeah, these 4 busts of the BPRD and the Right Hand of Doom would be great fun to stick a brush to.
Even as the plastic ones now, they look really good and detailed. Obviously, resin would be an absolute bonus, but like you said, if they can do it, it'd be fantastic.
Yeah, it's things like that make me want to go in for it.
Be interested to see how big they are.
And they're free because I just added on.
I know. Damn. It's okay, I've got another week. I might just stick £1 in and see what happens with the pledge manager.
And then you'll be in for like 230 quid by the end of next week.
Well, I have a dog for sale.
When did he say the pledge manager was? Did he say like June, July?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, so they'll...
So you got 2 months to sell your dog.
Okay, yeah, there you go. And children. I suppose I
Or
won't
a
sell the
child,
children. I can rent the children out for housework on an hourly basis. Yeah, we're allowed to do that, aren't we? No? I don't know.
Someone will probably complain nowadays.
I won't hire them out to those people that would complain.
Oh, that's fair enough.
Yeah. If you have a chimney that needs sweeping and you need a small 6-year-old whiny child, then yeah, get in touch and I'll rent one out to you. Yeah. Watch the comments come in. Mm-hmm. What else did we talk to him about?
Dice bags.
Yes.
Well, I think he
Dice
said there were
bags.
dice bags, didn't he? Or they were looking into bringing dice bags.
Yeah, there was an issue with that, wasn't there?
So it was the same kind of licensing stuff, wasn't it? Because it has to do with the game. So I think they were on about dice sets to start with. Upgrading the dice.
Yeah.
We asked about that. And then have a dice bag to go with it. But I think essentially we got round to talking about how they formulate stretch goals and how they design them and how it's easy for us to go, oh, give us this. But actually there's a lot more complicated process in the background and how they do it. And I didn't realise that until last night. It's really interesting, like you said before, Peter, to learn how it comes about.
Yeah, I can just imagine the conversations, somebody putting the pitch forward for this one part of something, and then 15 other people having to go down a chain of yes but, without the actors like to go with yes and, but the lawyers like to go with yes but. But 3 weeks into this Kickstarter, and I think the lawyers have been yes but, yeah, that's fine with a lot of it. Yeah, I really enjoyed chatting to Ronnie last night. He's as he said, Ian, he's really down to earth. He is passionate about his products and his company. I mean, his history with marketing and everything that he was part of GW back, I think, in the early 2000s, and expanded GW through Europe, and he's brought all of that experience to his own company now, and you can just hear it in his voice how he loves what he does.
Without a doubt. He's a really cool guy.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to actually meeting him in November, because we all got invited to this is that was the highlight of my night, getting invited to the open day.
I hope I can make it, but yeah, I'd really love to go. It'd be great.
Yeah, so they had an open day a couple of weeks ago, and I missed that. I mean, a ticket to the open day is only a tenner, to be fair, and he's going to stick us on the guest list, so that saves us a tenner. And being British and cheap, and we're trying to scrounge as much as we possibly can. So yeah, and it's the VIP-ness of being invited more than the saving of a tenner, I'm sure. You want a sticker, don't you, Ian?
I want a VIP sticker, yeah.
I'll settle for a freebie Hellboy model.
We'll make you a sticker if you want.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I be the only VIP.
I just need a sticker.
A very Ian person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Give me a sticker and I'm happy.
It's cool that, because before we were talking about the visit, I think we were asking him, he was talking about him in the community and how they don't hide anything. So their studio is open, just like these open days, but he doesn't close off anything. He was saying you can just wander around and take a look.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I mean, a full factory tour, production tour would be great as well. I love me a factory tour.
One of the things we did talk to him about is, like you were asking Peter about why you use Kickstarter and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the arguments that quite often gets thrown about is that once everybody's backed Kickstarter, nobody else buys the game afterwards. So, it's just like a money-making project. What I liked is that he actually said that after Kickstarter, the majority of their games, and I think The Walking Dead is probably one of the main ones, has actually made 5 times as much money as they've made after the release to retail than the actual Kickstarter made itself.
Yeah, that's crazy. But that's brilliant as well.
It's really, they're planning ahead as well. I think he was saying about, future, because we were asking about future sets and stuff, and I think it was Ian that mentioned the release of it coincides with the new movie, or just before it.
That's right.
Yeah, I think the movie comes out in March, and looking for the game to come out in February.
And it's not going to deliver on the 1st of February. I mean, February's a 28-day month. You don't know which end of that you're going to be getting a box through the door, are you?
That's my birthday, so hopefully it's on the 1st. That would be epic.
Yeah, happy birthday. Here's 3.5 kilos of plastic.
Yay!
A bottle of gin and some primer, and that is your day sorted, isn't it?
Well, don't you had me a gin. This is getting better and better.
Yeah, so the Kickstarter thing is he was explaining that it's more like a limited edition first print, and then the box art and everything might change, and the way the box is set up is going to change for retail for future prints, and it will never be the same as the Kickstarter. Or did I get that completely wrong?
No, the art for the box is Kickstarter exclusive art. That's according to the actual page as well. It says that on here. But I imagine a 3.5 kilo box for this is going to be a lot bigger than the retail version, which contains. So the standard game has got all your cards and base plates, all that kind of stuff. Your 4 heroes, all your tokens, custom dice, loads of decks and stuff like that, and 18 minions and 3 bosses, and that's the normal box. So that's going to be 70 quid for just that lot, and we're getting a shitload more for the Kickstarter.
A shitload more, yeah.
Shitload more, and a lot heavier as well. So
the technical term. And
an expansion a couple of months later.
Yeah, so the next one, you get the Conqueror Worm, which is £45 retail. So obviously if you don't back this, you'd have to buy that separately, and that's another expansion pack. Each of the little booster packs of troops and stuff, that's 18 quid. The next expansion after that is another £30, and then 18 more pounds for extra models. So, and that's just without all the Kickstarter models, exclusive models added on as well. So it's a lot of money if you don't go in on this, if you want the whole lot. And the Add-on Wednesday Hellboy Mexico expansion, it's not exclusive, but it's limited. So, yeah, if you can get it now on this, but it will only be, I imagine there'll be a few copies sent to retail rather than it being widely available. So God knows what they'll charge for that in shops.
Well, yeah, of course.
I can't imagine it'll be the same price as it is on here, if you do want it.
No, especially if it's limited, you're talking triple, quadruple cost, aren't you?
Exactly.
Yeah, very, 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 very tempted. So after spending an hour chatting to him, and he talked us through some of the game mechanics, and that it's I mean, you can look at all the YouTube videos that are out on how to play the game. I mean, they've been talking about this for the last couple of months, and the rules aren't finalised quite yet. The space between next week's end of the campaign and the Pledge Manager going live in a month or two, they will then lock down the rule sets and all the fine details of the game mechanics so that they can start producing it once the Pledge Manager goes live. But he was telling us how it works a bit like a dungeon crawl game, and some sort of elements of Cluedo where you're trying to investigate something that's happened. You're doing a BPRD investigation of some paranormal thing, as well as punching your way through situations because you're Hellboy. But there are plenty of videos. I haven't sat through the whole lot of them yet. I've sort of skipped through a few, and it does look like good fun.
Yeah, I watched a couple there. It looks quite a good game to play. Very cooperative as well. You can play it single player though, so that's quite good. So if you're bored one evening by yourself, you can chuck the game out and still play it, which is quite interesting because not many big board games like this have that ability, or they don't offer it.
Yeah, and considering my biggest gripe about any tabletop game that I've had over the last 10 years or whatever is that I don't have anyone to play with. Since my stepson grew up, and by grew up I mean when he turned 13, 14, he sort of quit. He quit Warhammer, and so he dragged me back into that hobby, kicking and screaming. And I've had nobody to play with since. So having a nice big game of solitaire with figures in it, I think I keep saying it's tempting, and I don't need anybody around me now. I just need my shed, a big board game that I can play by myself, and a lot of red paint. Indeed.
We were talking to Ronnie about how they create the best rules for the game and how they play test it and stuff. And he was saying they're really flexible with it. So, like Peter said before, the time in between the game being released, they'll get people in and do NDAs. So it's all super secretive for the time being, and get them in to play test it. And I think it's Peter, you were asking about whether you have experienced or newbie kind of board gamers who come in as well.
That's right, and he said that they get a mix so that a good cross-section of gaming people can be happy with the experience of playing this game. And sometimes they'll just shove people in a room. In fact, most of the time they'll shove people in a room, give them the rules, and leave, and not be there to guide them through it, because it's a totally different experience trying to figure out what to do by yourself without having the game designer breathing over your shoulder and telling you, no, this is how I meant for you to do it.
Yeah, he was saying that when he was in the room with the game designers, he could turn around at any minute and it'd be really smooth and enjoyable gameplay because the person who designed it was there and knew exactly how it was going to go and how it worked. Whereas when it took him away, it took a lot longer because obviously he didn't have that to fall back on and someone helping you out, just giving you direction. So it's really good that they do that, so then you get really nice streamlined play and it's not too hard for someone who's just beginning to get into.
Yeah, and then I guess, like with any game, once you've played it a few times and you understand the basic mechanics, obviously every scenario and every time you play it, it's going to be different. And I think he said there are millions of permutations of things that can happen. So there's not exactly infinite, but enough differences of the way you go, play it from one time to the next that you will enjoy it every single time.
There's so many scenarios now that they've added in the stretch goals, especially as well. That you could play this for ages, even by yourself if you wanted to, and you'd still have loads of different ways of getting through a scenario, but also loads of different scenarios to play to start with. So it's really good. It sounds like it's going to be a really versatile game.
It does.
And he was saying that this type of testing, especially with the newer people, for licensed games was more important because it's not just going to be like war gamers as such that are going to get it. It's going to be the general public that will get it because it's a licensed game.
Yeah, it'll be fans of the comics, and to some extent, I guess, the fans of the films.
definitely. You see this a
although
lot.
this is based on the comics as opposed to the films. It's Mike Mignola's original artwork, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the your Walking Dead game that you've got, Ian, that's based on the comics rather than the TV series, right?
Yeah, it's based on the comics. The artwork is done by Charlie Adlard and stuff like that. So yeah, it's something that the general public want, and it probably makes sense as to then why so much has been sold since the Kickstarter.
Yeah, I suppose it makes sense to go back to the source material because there's so much more in the comics than will ever be put on TV shows or films or. You could be remaking The Walking Dead over the next 30 years and you still wouldn't break into the detail that the comics would have got into, or even, obviously, Hellboy, which has been going for God knows how long.
Indeed.
Somebody knows how long, I don't.
I think
The
you were
90s.
saying that's why they've been looking at comic book licenses, because there's generally like 15, 20 years worth of the actual comics out there, that they got so many stories and so many bits that they could do, so they could do little expansions for this and expansions for that.
And if it's a successful campaign and a successful game at retail, then they can just expand it and expand it and expand it.
Yeah, like I think with The Walking Dead, they've done all the waves they've needed to do for the Kickstarter, so that's all complete, that's all out there now, so all the different expansions are done. But I believe the rumour is that they're now doing bits from other parts of the comics that they've either skipped over in the Kickstarter, or it's coming up and stuff like that. So it's a good way to expand.
Yeah, it's a good time to be in board games at the minute, I think.
I really like the way they playtest as well. After myself and Rianne go to a board game cafe kind of every couple of months, and you get like a 3-hour slot. So you want to pick games that you haven't necessarily played before because you want to play something new. But Jesus, the amount of games that we get, and the bloody rules are so complicated that it takes you 20 minutes to read them, and you're like, you know what, I can't even be asked trying to figure this out in the time I've got. So it's like no one's ever play tested it. So and some of them you get, and it's really simple to get. It's explained to you, and you just crack on, and it's not a drama. But yeah, some of them are a pain in the ass. So it's nice that they do that, because I think I don't know if it's true for all of them, but some games out there, it's like no one's ever actually played them who's not designed it.
Yeah, I can't remember if he said about Hellboy whether this is in it, but in The Walking Dead, when you get the game, there's like you get in video games where there's a tutorial, and it is just a single player where you go up against like 2 or 3 zombies, and it just teaches you the basic mechanics, and then the next mission that you do, it teaches you more and more and more and more, so you learn more from the different scenarios that you're doing, rather than some board games you go in and you literally got to know all the rules from the start of it.
That's pretty cool. It's an easier way to play though, isn't it? It's the easiest way to get it. It's just to run through a simple start, just like in a computer game. Like when you open the first scene of a computer game, it teaches you how to use all the buttons, what they all mean, and it gives you a little test. That's how it should be, really. And then all these people who are going to get interested in this, because it is marketed towards Hellboy fans and not necessarily board gamers or model painters, the easier that is for them to get into it, the more enjoyable it will be. And that's the whole point of it. It's a board game at the end of the day. So
yeah, I mean it's the 3D busts are replacing cardboard tokens, but you can just use cardboard tokens, and you could probably use a printed cardboard token rather than a miniature for every figure as well. So yeah, it is at the end of the day just a board game, but it seems so versatile.
Yeah, but I doubt. That's one of the advantages of it, is that there's so much extra you get with it, with the Kickstarter in particular, that is, that you can do so much more, and I think it'll only enhance the gameplay rather than take away from it with all the extra things you get for the money.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this in the flesh.
Me too.
In November. Yeah, I hope you can make it to that weekend. I hope I can make it to that weekend, for that matter. I mean, I don't have anything else on other than it's Scale Model Expo in Telford on the Sunday.
Yeah, so I'm going on the Sunday to that. I was going to go both days, and I was going to spend one day, like almost like shopping, and then the second day I was going to go and have a look at all the paintings and all that type of stuff. But I'm just going to have to scrap one of the days and go to the Mantic Open Day.
Yeah, I mean it's a really horrible dilemma to be in.
Yeah,
spoilt for choice.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't book my hotel room in Telford for the Saturday night. I think I'll just be driving overnight and just stay up on Pro Plus for the whole day.
I was just going to say, like, not to be too forward, but is you can always sweep on my floor because I literally live 10 miles away.
Oh, thanks.
From Telford, so
as long as I don't wake up with you spooning behind me, that's fine.
No, that's
He's Little Spoon. You'll be fine.
And this is where it gets weird.
Got weird a while ago.
So what I'm going to do, just to prove that we actually did chat to Ronnie, is I'm going to splice in the end of our recording that we did yesterday with him, and all the sign-offs and everything there. So we don't need to say goodbye on this one because we've done it and we've actually got it on recorded. So I'm going to cut now, and we'll just jump straight to that. And for your enjoyment, listeners, here is the last few minutes of an hour and a bit of chatting with Mantic's Ronnie Renton.
And don't forget there's the pledge manager later.
Yeah, well, that's a danger. That's dangerous.
I see on the latest update you've got the Army Painter sets.
Yeah.
They did some licensed Walking Dead ones, if I remember. Do you have any plans or potential of having like Hellboy ones?
Yeah, I think it could be. I think it would be good. I think we're also talking to a more board gaming crowd on this one. So they don't. There's quite a few that just don't have paints and a paint range. So definitely something we'll talk to them about and see what they want to do. We put the Kickstarter one, put the one up the Kickstarter so people have some paint so they can get them and get painting. But as to whether we'll get a retail one, very possible. Very possible.
Awesome.
Well, I'm getting ridiculously excited about this, and have you guys got any more questions for Ronnie? Because I think we're about to run out of time.
No, I'm not good.
Yeah, I think I'm all questioned out on what I was going to ask.
I mean, Chloe, if you keep asking questions, your wallet's going to get emptier and emptier and emptier.
Yeah, this is another reason why I'm just going to see what happens.
You see, that just means that Ronnie's good at what he does. He's
true, yeah.
Selling his product and taking your money.
I've just got to be patient and wait for them now.
Yeah, that is. I mean, if you want to throw us any early bird bits way before they come out to anybody else, we'll happily take them off your hands.
Well, you come up to the open day, we'll give them there. But if you're not at the open day, you'll get nothing. Sorry, Clay.
Right.
I'm gonna have to take a day trip up there and then travel back down here for the Sunday, aren't I?
Yes, you are.
That's a trek, but I'll do it.
Sounds like a damn good plan. Well, I think we should wrap this up. And the usual way we do that is thanking everybody for tuning in and listening, downloading the podcast this week. And as always, you can get in touch with us on the usual web and social media channels. The website is models-workshop.com. The Facebook is facebook.com/The Models Workshop. And on Twitter, it's at MWAH Podcast. That'll get you through to Larry. We don't have a UK Twitter handle just yet. Maybe we'll get one at some point. You can get me on Twitter at MiniModelPaint. I'll skip over Dave and Simon because they're not here. And even though my script says they are, they've decided to be elsewhere. Ian is...
my Twitter and my Instagram are basically the same thing. It's painting_troll.
And Chloe's not on Twitter, but you can see her pictures on Instagram at
LTP_geek.
And Ronnie, of course, can be found on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all over the place, right? Where can everybody find you?
Well, I mean, the base, manticgames.com is the base place, which you can find us both on a website, and then you can click off to our blog, and there's manticgames.com on Facebook, so you can find them in both those places. And if you really want to know me, then it's just Ronnie Renton on Facebook. That's about the technical level that I have.
Fair enough. And as of time of recording, we've got 8 days to go. By the time this comes out, that'll be 6 days to go for the end of the Kickstarter. So if you haven't already, get your pledges in and see how many more stretch goals we can force them up to.
Yeah, sounds fun.
Yeah. And don't forget, this episode of Models Workshop After Hours has been sponsored by Audible.com, and you can grab 2 free books, not just one, by visiting www.bit.ly/afterhoursaudible. And until next time, next one's going to be American Crew and then us again. Goodbye. Everybody can sign off if they want.
Bye.
Bye-bye. See you all again.